Zuarayenda ndogara chigaro chamatende uchatendeka awe zuarayenda ndogara chigaro chamatende uchatendeka watendeka awe zuarayenda ndogara chigaro chamatende uchatendeka watendeka aye zuarayenda. Togozani Royals, Hotep family, please tap the screen. Tap the screen. Please keep tapping the screen. Let's just tap the screen. I want to see if you guys can hear me. Please tap the screen just to let me know that you are able to hear me before I start talking. Please tap the screen. Just tap the screen. Tap the screen. Jocelyn, please tap the screen if you can hear me. Please tap the screen. There we go. So you can hear me. That signals to me that you can hear me. Ndogara chigaro chamatende uchatendeka watendeka awe zuarayenda ndogara chigaro chamatende uchatendeka watendeka awe zuarayenda ndogara chigaro chamatende uchatendeka. Thokozani Camagwini Lesedihanya Tobela Ndaueshewe Nangadef Muribwanji Habarigani Thokozani Tobela Hotep family. So I am here for us to continue our conversation on the ancestors. I'm here to add another layer of complexity, just like really mkulu, more complexity. But it's a very important aspect, especially for those who are on their spiritual journey. Who you will probably experience what I'm going to talk about, and it's very important to understand. So this is Ancestors Part 11, right? So the whole series, now we are on Part 11. And I also wanted to share something with you guys. It's coming. It's the Ancestors book that's been promised. It's not ready. However, I have a copy so I can do some editing and everything else that needs to happen. And this will only come out in September when we launch during our new year. September, is the African New Year. So when the new year comes is when we launch major projects. This has been in the works for a couple of years now. I've been promising, but we're here. I'm going to do the edits, and it's going to be quite a thorough sort of, I'd say, a thorough exploration of the realm that we call the ancestral realm. So what I wanted us to talk about today is actually very important, because we've talked about your ancestors as your bloodline, right? We've talked about your ancestors as your bloodline. We've also talked about the intersection between your blood lineage, your bloodline ancestors, and the Neteru. Oh, of course. And the Neteru, who are the overall or overarching electromagnetic energies or frequencies, or if you like, or deities that govern all of this. Now I'm going to add another layer of complexity, and this is based on experience by myself, and I will share that experience with you, but it's also based on the experiences of others. So there are ancestors who are connected to you, not just by bloodline, but they are connected to you. I'm going to take it step at a time, and I'm going to simplify it. Let's start with the simple level. Say, for example, you as a child was adopted into a family, right? It is known, of course, that these are not your biological parents, but they raised you. So you were adopted, they raised you, and then these particular parents pass on. Or other members in that particular family that raised you pass on. The question to now ask yourself is, are these my ancestors? And the answer is yes. The answer is yes, particularly because spirit, like I said, it's complicated. There are a lot of people who'll be like, but they're not my bloodline. Of course, they're not your bloodline. We know that. But these are people who raised you. And they, when they transition or pass on, don't abandon you if they really loved you. Matter of fact, there's probably conversations that happen with your bloodline ancestors in way of thanking them for having taken care of you and guarded you. So now the question becomes, if I am setting up, say, an ancestral altar, are these the people I put on my altar? My advice would be yes, they are. However, I want to make something clear. Just because your biological parents or your biological, it's usually the mother, for whatever reasons and circumstances in her life, decided to give you up for adoption, or maybe she passed on when you were young, or maybe she passed on when you were born. The safest way to do this is to acknowledge that you have bloodline ancestors. You don't know them. You have no physical direct connection to them because the biological parents or the mother is no longer there. You never knew her. However, that does not mean that your ancestors, your biological bloodline ancestors, do not know you. So when you start your veneration, it is okay to acknowledge those of your bloodline that you do not know, those who are of the light. But it is also perfectly okay to make a connection with your adoptive ancestors, so to speak. Does that make sense? Now, just as a caveat, your adoptive parents may not necessarily have had family members who approved of the adoption or who cared for you. So a safe practice would be for you, if your adoptive parents have passed on, connect with them. Connect with them. So that if there are issues with, say, their parents and those other, ancestors, that does not impact you. Connect with those who were directly responsible for you. If there was a grandmother, perhaps, that you grew up also calling grandma, and a grandpa, and they loved you and they had affection for you, by all means, connect with them too. If everybody else in that lineage approves of you good and well, it's okay. They can shower blessings. I don't like that word. They can shower whatever gifts they want to shower you. But remember that those gifts are not from your lineage. They're not bloodline gifts. They're simply gifts from what we might call, rather than calling them ancestors to you, they might just become your spirit guides more than anything else. So that's one aspect of a situation where you have ancestors who are not of your bloodline, right? People who loved you, cared for you, nurtured you, raised you, fed you, educated you, made, were there maybe when you were having your kids. Yeah, certainly those are ancestors you can venerate. Those are ancestors you can pour libation for. Absolutely. Now, let's add another layer of complexity to this. There are spirit guides who may show up in the dreamscape, and you have no idea who they are, but there's a feeling of familiarity. They feel familiar, right? They're not hostile when they show up. It is possible that they are ancestors to you because they were part of your soul group in another lifetime. So it is an energetic recognition of one another when they show up in the dreamscape. Now, for those of you who may be like, what? You do know, and I've talked about, reincarnation is a real thing. Most people here are not here, like those who are watching. Most of you here are not here. This is not your first rodeo, right? So it is possible that in your previous rodeo or previous rodeos, there were those who were in your soul group who in this incarnation for you come as spirit guides, and they feel familiar because you are recognizing each other at the energetic or soul level. Call them your spiritual soul tribe if you like. The hallmark of these guys, though, because precedent is given to your bloodline ancestors, the hallmark of these guys is that they show up when you need them. They're not constantly around you all the time, but in your time of deepest need, they show up. For some, they have experienced these so-called soul, and someone will say an angel came. I was in a dire situation. Somebody showed up. I was on the street. I don't know who this person is. They helped me out of a situation. When I turned to look for them, this person was gone. Well, it's not a random person. And certainly it's probably your spirituality is deep. It is probably a spirit that because of the situation you're in showed up, assisted you, and then their job was done, they exited, and you never saw or heard from them again. So I'll tell you a story from my own life. When I was 21, many years ago, I was studying at the University of Glasgow in Scotland, and one of my roommates was half Swiss and half Senegalese. And so during one summer, instead of going back home to the continent, she invited me to go to Switzerland with her. We went to Switzerland. She stayed in Basel. Now, one of the things that always fascinated me was these huge cathedrals. And in the Cathedral of Basel, one day she said, let's go take a look. I was always interested in old buildings and old architecture. So we go into this space, her and I'm saying to her, this is a very interesting place. Of course, in Europe, if I'm honest with you, a lot of these huge cathedrals are nothing but museums now. It's not as if they're places of any kind of worship any longer. So this was not new to me, because remember, me going to Europe, I had been there for several years already by that time. So now here we are in this cathedral, and she wanders off, with her cameras taking pictures, and I think she went off to the bathroom, and I was left there by myself. Towards me comes what looks like a Franciscan brother. They call them friars, Frairs, a Franciscan. The Franciscan brothers, if people know anything about the Catholic Church, these are the ones who wear brown. They have their hair is cut in a way that it leaves a bald patch, and then there's like a circle of hair, and then they tie like a rope around the waist. And he was barefoot, and this it's called a cassock. This robe he was wearing has kind of like a hoodie on the back. Anyway, so he comes towards me, and the interesting thing about me is, growing up when I was about 15 or 16, I'm 21 now. Yeah, from about 14 to 16, I had an affinity for the Franciscans. I don't know why, please don't ask why, but I'm a Catholic girl in terms of background. I am none of that anymore. Disclaimer. So he approaches me, and he looks at me and he greets me, and he says, "Look after her." I knew he was talking about my friend, and I nodded, and he said, "Yeah, she is by your side so that you can take care of her." And I said, she says, and then he said, "You've taken care of her before, and you need to help her overcome, because in a former life, you've helped her before. She was a witch in Senegal." I'm like, yeah, because Carol was half Swiss. Her mother was Swiss. Her father was Senegalese. She'd never met her father. It says, in a former life, you helped her. She was a witch in Senegal. So you need to assist her. And then he disappeared. So when she comes back, I said to her, "Hey, did you see him?" She says, "Who?" So I said, "No, there was a Franciscan brother who was here. He was just talking to me." She's like, "There are no Franciscans here. This is a museum." I was like, "Are you sure there's not like a brother's cottage or somewhere in the, because I had seen him?" She said, "No, there is no one like that. I'm telling you, there are no nuns here. There are no brothers here." I said, "Priests?" She's like, "No, there's no mass held here. This is a big old giant museum. See, everybody's walking around." I was stunned. So I told her about my encounter, and she sort of said, I didn't tell her about the part that she had said she was a witch in Senegal, because I think that would have broken her. I just, for whatever reason, I withheld that part. I was stunned. Fast forward, I'm now here in America. By that time, this was 2015. 2015, I had started writing my novel. And I didn't know that it was a Catholic retreat center. I didn't know. A friend of mine said to me, I needed a writing weekend. I just needed to get away from the kids and go and do some writing. And she said, "No, there's a place not far from here. We can drive there. It's like 45 minutes. There's a lake there. And they have these little cottages that are there." Lo and behold, we get there. I see a big old cross. I'm like, man, what? For me, it was like, oh, no, man, no. But by that time, my friend was like, "Look, we're here. You've got your own little cottage." And the price was really cheap. I didn't have the funds to pay for an expensive retreat center. But the setting was so beautiful. And I said to myself, "Oh, come on, old Catholic girl. You're not going to be spooked out by anything." So there we were again in this space. We're writing. The second day we got there, decided that, you know what? I was going to take a walk. It was beautiful nature. The lake was there. I got up early in the morning and they got up early. It was her other friend. So there were three of us. So we're walking in this place, following a trail. And as usual, typical me, I really value my quiet time. They wanted to walk, and so I decided to veer off. And I said, I'll catch up with you later. I just needed that quietness. At least that's what I thought. So there I veer off on my own. I'm walking. And then in front of me, there's a Franciscan friar. He's coming towards me. The energy was very familiar. I blinked. He's coming towards me. And when he came, he greeted me by name. And he said, "Morning, Barbara." I was like, "Morning." He was familiar. I'm like, I know you. I know you. I know you. Like, I knew this energy. I knew this, the get up, the facial expression, the eyes, everything. And then he says, "I'm here to help you with your writing." In my mind, I'm asking, how do you know I'm here to write? And then he says, "This has been a long time coming. You should have done this many years ago." So I was like, oh, well, it's better late than never, I guess. And then he says, "Yeah." Then he said, I'm around. Again, this person was very physical, family. I'm not talking about some phantom thing. I'm not talking about something that just vanished poof. He literally just simply walked away, and I watched him walk away into the distance. And I figured, well, this is a Catholic place, and there are probably brothers and what people all around here. So I go by the lake, and then I come back round, and we meet with my friends to just have a simple breakfast before we get to work. And I said to them, "Did you guys see a Franciscan brother somewhere around here? Did you guys meet him on a path?" And they look at me and they're like, "Franciscan brother? No." I'm like, "Well, you sure?" And they're like, "No, what did he look like?" So I described them. Like, "No, they're not brothers here." I literally felt like I was having a deja vu moment because I'd heard this before. There are no brothers here. This is just a retreat center. There are no priests. There's no nuns. There's no nothing. It's just, it used to belong to the Catholic Church, but now it's just a retreat center. So, why am I sharing this with you? I'm sharing this with you because this Franciscan brother and me, it'd be like saying we are connected somewhere, somehow. So the weekend was great. I wrote prolifically. It was beautiful. The writing was prolific. Like I was in the zone. I don't know how many thousands of words I wrote, but this was the most writing I had done on that novel, which I kept starting and putting away for years, for years and years. And finally, I was able to channel, and it was just flowing. It was happening. So this is an example that I use. I don't know when brother will decide to show up again. Maybe now, because of the phase I am in my life, brother's decided he took me through what I needed to go through at the time to achieve what I needed to achieve. And never seen him since, never heard from him since. I'm not calling him, I'm not invoking him, but I'm using this as an example to show you that for the fact that the first encounter, he told me that in a previous life, I had assisted my friend and I needed to stay by her side and assist her work through some stuff in this lifetime, was enough to tell me that then you must be someone from a previous life too showing up. None of this made sense then. It only started to make sense as an African spiritualist and initiated, this is when everything about my really strange life started to make sense. So I wanted to share this story with you guys to show you that we have ancestors because of soul group or soul tribe, as opposed to just your lineage ancestors. And like I said, in my experience, they come in and they come out. When you need them, you don't even need to call them, because you don't, most times in this incarnation, you don't know who you are. You can't remember every single soul you connected with in previous lifetimes. Unless you want to go and live back there. Just exit this body somehow and go and explore back there. But for the most part, I think it is the significant ones who show up when you need them and then they retreat. As quietly as they come in is as quietly as they come out. Now, those you don't have to do anything for. You don't have to pour libation for. What I did with my novel is you know, where you thank people, like you say, you know, to my publisher, to so and so who did the first reading, to this one who supported me, to my family, the acknowledgements page, I acknowledged him. That is what I did, because I know that with that novel, especially the early part of it, he was a very much present energy. And he said it when he met me at that little retreat, that I've come to help you pull off this thing that you've been sitting on for years. So again, I just wanted to come and share with you guys another layer to this whole mysterious spiritual life, spiritual walk that we have. I hope that it has been useful, and I hope that as you go through your journey, don't be confused and befuddled when there are certain energies that seem to come in and out that you feel familiar with, but you don't necessarily recognize. The reason I say that is, and I'm saying this because I know somebody's going to say, Gogo, but you and palm-colored creatures don't mix. Well, let's call him Brother Paul. Brother Paul is height. Okay? So who knows what my interaction in a former life was? It must have been an okay one, because somehow the times that him and I have interacted have generally not been hostile. And he came to assist me. So, it's deep, right? So I'm sharing from personal experience. In my current incarnation, you know where I stand, but I don't know what I was doing and with whomst and how and for what in my former incarnations, guys. Yeah. Anyway, family, I hope that this was enjoyable. I hope that you find some use to this. And until the next one, love you, Black Nation. Love you, family. Mastukuzeni. Good night.